Welcome to Marion's World, everyone, and part one of making this beautiful butterfly brooch. Welcome back, and yes, today is part one of making the butterfly brooch, and it's the first time I've split a video into two parts like this because it was just too long to post all together and I didn't want to cut a lot of the detail out. Having said that, there are times at the beginning where I really struggled to keep things in focus because I was trying to have the camera zoomed in so you could get the detail. So it's not as wonderful as some of my videos have managed to be, but I've tried to keep the essence of what the embroidery was and hope that you still get the general idea of how I've created this. And obviously it bumped everything else off the schedule because once I'd said I'm going to make a butterfly embroidered brooch, that's all I wanted to do, and so I just got on and did it, and I've worn it ever since. Just on every piece of clothing I've got, it's been on there, so I hope you enjoy seeing it. Well, of course, because of this little slip of an applique orange tip, what have I bumped up to the top of the cube but a butterfly brooch? And so here we go. I am using some felt for the base, and then I have this, which is the only bit I've got left of some pelmet vilene, because I think I might need that for stiffener in the middle. I have drawn out my piece of butterfly, and I've done that in exactly the same way as I did for the embroider on the stitch journal, but obviously this time it's bigger, and this little piece is 9.5 centimeters, or maybe 10 centimeters wide, which is nearly 4 inches wide. And I've got the body coming in at 1 3/4, which is 4.5-ish about. So I drew a template, and I've actually cut it out already in the pelmet vilene. So I've got my template that's going to go in the middle. I'm definitely still using the orange tip butterfly as my template. I've got my colours. I'm going to use crewel wool, and I've got the colours that I need. So I've got this pale straw colour, I've got an orange which looked perfect, I've got a mossy green, I've got a vintage grey, and you'll have heard me say before that these vintage crewel wools are so much finer than the modern ones. The modern ones must be twice the thickness. I don't know whether you're going to pick that up. But if you can get hold of vintage crewel wools, it is definitely worth it because they're a joy to stitch with. The tapestry wool, I've got this off-white, and I'm doing what I've done before in the past, which is to take a bit of my tapestry wool, and I'm splitting it down. There are 4 strands. It's not designed to be split, but it will split, and it stitches very, very successfully, and you can definitely split the ply. You've just got to be careful because it can knot up a bit, but it isn't difficult to split it either, and you get the twists out of it. It is actually approaching the same thickness as the proper crewel wool. So that is what I'm using, and I don't see anything the bother. It's using up what I've got. So I'm going to put my image to one side, and I'll bring in what I've already done, because what I have done already is start and prepare it. I drew around my template, and this is just normal wool felt that I've got in my hoop. I'm going to be holding it in the hand today, I think. I drew round, and I've drawn round it twice because I was wondering exactly how I was going to make a brooch, and whether I was going to try and do a velvet backing or a felt backing. And then I realised that actually, if I was seeing this in a shop or something, the first thing I'd do would be pick it up and have a look underneath, and so I wanted the underneath to be accurate. And so this is the top wing, and this is what the wings look like on the underneath. And because obviously that's a lot of stitching, I've actually gone and stitched that bit already, and I've got this part drawn out from there, and I'm ready to stitch. I'm going to do it with this long needle, which has a very, very sharp point, and an eye that's big enough to get my crewel thread through. And this is one of those things where you just have to keep looking at your image. And I think this is going to be really lovely. You can obviously see I did it in a lot bigger than normal scale. And so I'm starting straight away to just lay these. Let's see if I can pull you in. I'm going to put the outline in first with this cream tapestry wool, and I'm splitting the stitches. So most of this will be just straight stitches, sort of long and short. So it'll be the same way as I did the butterfly on the stitch journal. We're just using a bigger thread and a bigger image. And the felts are lovely to stitch with too. And of course what you should notice is that it's funny how this has bumped everything off the schedule. So what I was going to be doing for today is now not getting done. Because why? Because I had to just make a butterfly brooch. And that's the way it is sometimes. These little projects come up into my head and then they just won't leave. So I'm going to just do some small stitches through the edge. Now look at my picture. The edge it's the lovely green, but it's sort of checky and feathery. So I'm just going to stitch down with little 1/8" stitches here. And I'll lay the outline of the top wing, and I'll do each wing individually. So from here, the top wing is going over the top of the underwing, and I'll split stitch that again. And the interesting thing is though that on the Wednesday video I was putting a white body on because it was the underside of the body that I was looking at. And actually so he's got a white body here with a bit of grey shading. But on the top body, his body's really black. So I'm going to start and lay these stitches in, and I'm just going up to the body. I'm not going to do overly many here because I know I'm going to be putting black on top. This is a project that I've been wanting to do for ages, but everything just gets shoved around. So the leading edge of the wing does have a lovely cream edge, so I'm going to just go back up there and put that in, splitting the stitch again. And then I'm going to come down to here. You can see I have actually got a bit of a curve in there. Try and put it in with my pencil again, there. That's the orange bit, and this is white and black. So I'll go down from here, not all the way down. And I'll just make the stitches of alternate lengths. Sometimes working down towards the body, sometimes working up towards the outer wing. But always being aware of the way my stitches are lying. Necessarily trying to make them all tight or anything. I just want to get the sense of the wing and where each colour is going to be. I don't have to go right down to here, right down to the body end, because that's going to get overstitched with black or charcoal or grey or something like that. Okay, so I'll finish that piece off, and I'm just going to go back through. And so, because I like to change colours all the time, I'm going to go for my orange. If any of you do that, you don't like to just fill in one space, or maybe you're more disciplined than me, I like to go from one colour to another and then back again. And it sort of brings, instead of having one piece that's a bit finished and then going to another, it sort of brings everything together all at the same time. So this one, I'm going to start the orange. This will show up better for you. So I'm just going to stagger some stitches in. So I try not to put big stitches on the back, so the way I tend to do it is I'll go in different directions. So I come up here and go down towards the body, and then a short stitch back, and I can come back up. It's still long and short, I'm just doing it in a different way because it suits me to have all of my thread on the top of my embroidery, and if you look underneath, not very much on the back. So this is now coming down towards the cream. I don't want to do too much because I'll need to put some of that yellow in, I think. So I'll just put one or two stitches going down towards the cream. I keep checking my photograph from my book to make sure I'm getting the patches in the right place. So actually this little butterfly, it has detail, but it still just has those few colours. There's the little black dot. Oh, I haven't put it on the bottom, I've just realised. I have to go, when I'm doing these two, I'll have to not forget. It has the mossy green, the yellow veins, and the cream, and the silver grey that I'm using as a shade. So I've decided to go with the mossy green and do that next piece. Now I need to just keep an eye on the shape of the patch I'm making. It actually looks greeny brown on the top wing. It's more of the mossy colour. This is going to go right around this bottom part of the wing, and then I'll work my way back up again. I didn't feel the need to be putting a wire in on the edge like a proper stump work, mainly because I'm working on felt, which I thought would give a good base for the crewel embroidery. And obviously that won't fray. And then I'll be sewing both the bottom and the top together. I hope they absolutely look fine. And so they may be stiff enough with the just the pelmet lining, that bit inside, or they might still need a bit of wire. I'm going to put one or two longer threads in here, just as I can see them on the photograph. In fact, there's no more green on the top, on the butterflies' top wings. It's all the camouflage of when they've got closed wings. So I'll finish that off. And I will come up ready. In fact, I'll just do it. I'll just come up and do this other wing while I'm on. I told you it's because I'm lazy. I hate to take thread out of my needle that I haven't finished right to the end. And then I'm always looking for what I can do with it. So there is green here, I might as well just lay it in. And I'll put the cream back in my needle and see if I can finish the base of this wing off. Just make sure I'm on camera there. I'm not necessarily trying to do anything other than lay the stitching in the correct plane, so the correct direction, so that it looks like a butterfly's wing. I'm going to take some longer stitches here, I don't want them to look too short. because that'll also make things look a bit disjointed. I think that might be enough. Okay, I'll change to the silver grey. Going to come up maybe about here where the yellow is, and I'll take a shadow down the leading foredge. That's settling in quite nicely. I always love using this vintage crewel wool because it belonged to my great grandma, and it came with a half finished fire screen, which I have actually done some work on but not much, and it's something that I'd quite like to finish, so it may become a project one of these days. I'm just going to lay in some of these veins coming up there and joining in with where the yellow is. I think it's there. I'll have to check and make sure I actually am in focus on the camera, because I'm never sure when I pull it in tight. Here we've got a lot of black coming out. I want to do the wings first, so I'm just going to be careful where I'm laying this in. Do want some white to show. I'll see if that works any better. It's just getting the sun's just come round. As the sun gets low, it comes and shines right into my workroom. Just going to put a bit of sort of dotted. I don't want it to be full lines even. Maybe just little seed stitches going inwards will actually create the effect that I'm trying to get. So those little seed stitches can just give the impression that the markings are fading out up the wing. And I'm pulling them down into the cream. And then there is quite a black body on the top, but I've got a bit of an idea of what I'm doing there, so I might just leave the black thread hanging. I think I want to do the body last, so what I'm actually going to do is come up to make the little wing spot. I think it's about there. So I'm just going to do 2 or 3 little overcast stitches. They need to be within the wing veins and not over the top. So I've got the cream in my needle again, and I've been all the way around the outside because I need the little fringe put in the separate stitches. And now the whole of the bottom wing is this whitish cream and grey, and so I'm actually going to fill the whole of the bottom wing in long and short stitches, and then I'll overstitch the grey shadows and the grey pieces that go on top. Yeah, I'll start off laying long stitches in to get the actual the stitches into the right angle. I can just keep going up and down, heading always for the body. And just go sometimes up, sometimes down, angle these round. There's the sun again. I think I'll just wait until it's got down a bit more before I come back to you. I waited until the sun's gone in because I just couldn't see even to stitch myself, it was so bright. I don't have any curtains in this room because it just looks out onto the courtyard, It just means that when the sun gets low enough, it just comes straight into where I work. So anyway, I'm recommencing. And while I was away, I laid in this bit of colour, but I didn't do any more on here so that you could see exactly what I was doing. So I'm just putting in my long and short stitches. I can cover this whole piece in because the whole of the bottom wing is cream and grey. And hopefully you can see that I'm just randomly stitching my stitches in. I'm still using the split down tapestry wool. I'm not going right up to the body because that's all black, so I know it's going to shade out from there. And I will swap straight over onto that side to use up my thread. Even though I haven't finished the other bit yet, I can just use this thread up. Okay, I'm back with grey in my needle. And I'm going to start and just shade this bottom wing up, which is slightly greyer than the top. And by putting the stitches in, it means I'll be able to differentiate the top wing from the bottom wing. Considering this one doesn't, on the top side, it doesn't actually have the mottling to distinguish it. It's just a plain wing. I'll get some laid in preparation for the black coming on, which I could do some on the top here as well. See what that looks like. And then I'm going to just put the veins in. I can only just see them on the photograph, but I think if I put them in grey, that'll actually look nice. And the other thing I need to do is just do some dark little marks around the bottom edge of the frill. Right, I think that looks fine to me. I'm back with my strand of charcoal crewel wool. It's actually Appleton's as well, that's what it is. And I got some colours quite a long time ago because I was trying to replicate a Victorian carpet for the doll's house, and although it isn't actually finished, there's quite a lot done. I just need a few more long bits out here, I think. And then I'll put so before I take anything across to the other side, I need to just come and do the tiny little black pieces along the edge of the wing. I think a single stitch is probably going to be enough, maybe. Let's try 2 and just have a look. Oh yes, I'll do 2. And then we'll come along. I left the gaps in the cream so that I had room to put these in. And the little things like this just make the difference. Get the little details in and it just brings everything together. There's actually just 5 of these little places. So I'll see, I might have done them a bit too close together, but I'll see. They're looking good though. Yeah, that's a good position. And then it looks like there's one right at the top, going underneath that wing. Okay, I'll just fasten off for now. And I think what I'll do now is I'll just go off camera and I will carry on, and I will put the other side in to get it to the same point as this. As you can see, I've finished the other side to match now, and I've got the single strand of grey back in my needle, and I'm going to start and lay in the body. Now it's grey towards the bottom, so I'm just going to start laying in some straight stitches, but I actually want this body to be a bit 3D. I want it to be fluffy like the body is in real life. And to do that, I'm going to be doing a stitch called turkey stitch or turkey work, which is what it's quite often referred to. And if you were doing this among weaving, the same stitch would be called raya stitch. Very, very similar in the way that it's worked. And so I'm just going to lay these stitches down first so the body can smooth away to just a smooth end. And now I'm coming up ready to do the turkey work. And so what it is a loop that is then secured. I'm going to try my best to hold my hoop and show you at the same time. See if it can come in a little bit more. So quite often you'd work these in lines, but I'm not particularly bothered about that because it's a butterfly's body. But I'm just going to see if I can hold it in while I'm holding everything. So I'll make the loops quite long so you can see what's happening. So I've made a loop, going to come up alongside where the loop's been made, and I'm just going to do a little stitch over the top of the two pieces of the loop, and that'll secure it to stop it pulling out. So I'll hold the loop down and secure it, and then I come up alongside. So if you were doing this on a rug, you quite often use a measure with a stick or a ruler or something like that, so you would have all of your loops an identical size. For embroidery, you could also do that with turkey work. I'm not particularly bothered because these are all going to get cut. So I'm just bothered about getting the loops in where I want them to be. So I've done across there. I'm going to come up about 1/8 of an inch, and I'm going to do another row. I should do it in the bit. I think what I'll do is I'll do it by the side in a bigger scale so you can see what's actually happening. But I'll just make this couple of stitches first, and then I'll show you with the other thread what I'm actually doing. And it makes a lovely pile. It's called turkey work because it was used for knotting Turkish rugs. It probably still is in some places. I haven't looked up the history. Do my little locking stitch. And I'm going to finish that thread off, and I'm going to show you what I'm doing. So I've doubled my thread up just for ease of showing you. You would have a line that you're working, and you'd come up on your line like that, and you'd go maybe 1/8 of an inch along, depends on what the thickness of your thread is, and make your loop, and then come back to where the thread came out originally and take a stitch right across them to secure them. And then you come up again, a little next stitch along, make your loop, a little back stitch, then come up again So you're going 2 stitches along the back and make your straight stitch to secure them. Come up 1/8 of an inch again, make your loop, and you'll see that they're all just sitting there, and again the little locking stitch, and they won't pull out, so you can leave them loopy like that. But what tends to happen is you build up a pile, so I could come back and work another row of them. So I would work the other way on, so there, make the loop, and they're going to be a little bit, you know, higher up this time. Come forward, secure them, come up another 1/8 of an inch forward, make the loop, down it goes, come up, secure the loop. And in that way you can put rows and rows in. When it all gets cut, you get an actual, like a velvety pile forming. So I can now cut these loops because they're all secured, they're not going to come out. I cut them all through, and then I've got a little pile. I can make that could be hair, it could be fur, it could be anything, but you can also, you can shape it. I can cut the pile and make it do something else if I want to. So I'm going to, I've put the grey ones in, I'm going to thread up in my black. I'm making quite small loops, they're only, they must be a 1/16 wide, I think, not very big at all. Secure the loop, and then another. So I'm getting 2 loops across the body at the moment, but I imagine that I'll be able to get 3 or 4 in as I get further up the width of the body. And I am leaving them quite long because I need to make sure that I'm going to get enough thickness of pile once I've actually got it done ready to cut. It's not a hard stitch once you get used to it. It's probably, for me, trying to show you, it's probably better if I'd put it into my frame, into my hoop stand. I'm going to carry on, and I'm going to turkey stitch the whole of the body. And because I know it's probably really hard to see, I'm going to do it off camera and come back when I've got it done. So here's the completed turkey work. If I put it sideways, hopefully you can see the length of loop that I've got, the grey down the bottom, and then that. And so the next thing is to cut all the loops, and you just have to go in and get them on your little scissors and cut every loop through. You just go in, hopefully catching loops as you go. So now, before I go any further, I'm going to use my needle, and I'm just going to fluff the fibres with the point of the needle and fluff them all up. Sort of unply the twist of the crewel wool, because I want this body to be fluffy. I'm going to get them all standing up straight. Turn it around that way so you can see it. And get them all standing up. If I come to any loops I haven't done, I'll cut them. But I think my needle's going through it okay. And now what I can do is just sort of make a body out of it. So I'm going to, in fact I can cut them out first. I think that's what I'll do. I'll take it out of the hoop. It'll be easier to do it out of the hoop. Cut one piece out. What's exciting, this is when it all starts coming together. And hopefully the idea works. So there's the bottom, the underneath wing, and this is the top side of the wing. So I'm going to bend the wings down so I can just have the body poking upwards. I'm just going to cut the fibres until I can carve a furry body. Just keep looking. There's no point cutting it too short, but all of a sudden it just sort of gets there. Oh, that's worked really well. Okay, so if I turn it sideways for you, you can see he's actually got a body sticking up now, and it's really fluffy. So I'm going to get those off. So now the next thing is assembly. I'm going to cut these out. I'll cut the bottom wing first, and I'm going to cut it really close, but not all the way in. I haven't got a wire securing anything. I'm going to leave about 1/16 of the felt. I can always cut it more. Always, you should angle your little scissors in underneath. That's the underneath. Nobody's going to even see it but me. And there's my stitching from the wrong side. I'll do that with the top wing. Okay. So now if they go together, and I'm going to stitch them all the way around. Maybe I don't need that stiffener in. Let me feel it. I feel what it feels like. I think it's going to make it too thick. I don't think I need that after all. I'm going to leave that out. I'm going to clear my table up a bit, get rid of all the bits and pieces from the stitching, and I'll come back with a clean table and we'll turn these two pieces into a brooch. Well, I hope you enjoyed seeing the first part of how I've made this butterfly brooch. I know things like this can seem daunting. You look at something someone else has done like that and think, oh, I can't possibly do that. But it's easier than you think once it's broken down into steps. And having a reference image to work from makes such a difference, because you'll see straight away whether you're putting your stitches in the right place or not. And also, it's just straight stitches. There's nothing complicated particularly. It's just keeping a look at your reference photo and keep your stitches going in the right direction, which sounds simple when I'm saying it, but in reality it's not that much more difficult. You just have to get a start and draw your image out and go from there. So I had to split the video into two. I'm going to post this part of making it into the brooch tomorrow, because it was just too, I would have had to have edited out too much detail, and so this is the first video that I'm actually splitting in half like that, and I'll see how it does. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed seeing it get embroidered, and I hope you'll tune in tomorrow to see how I turn it into a brooch that can be wearable. And it's not going to be the only one like this. I already want to do a peacock butterfly and also a moth, which was originally my plan absolutely weeks and weeks and weeks ago, was to make a moth brooch. I just never got around to it, but it'll be coming, that's for sure. So I'll see you later, and please press the like button and subscribe if you want to carry on seeing whatever else is going. There's quite a bit of stuff coming up actually. I've got a thrifting video coming, there's some tablecloth dress coming, there's just all sorts, and it's just scheduling them in, and then I get on with something like this that pushes all the scheduling out the window and everything gets upside down. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow with the rest of the butterfly brooch tutorial. Bye everyone, and thanks for watching.